I have honestly never been that scared in my entire life. I do not think I will ever be able to phone the police if anything else had to ever happen to me. It's late. The kind of late where the world feels empty and even the streetlights seem tired. Two friends, Miss Muller and Miss Bell, are driving home in Centurion, South Africa. It's the early hours of April 28th, 2017. They're just trying to get home safe. But then blue lights in the rearview mirror. Police. At first, it's just the blinding high beams. Miss Muller flicks on her hazard lights, hoping they'll dim them. They do. Then the blue lights come on. She pulls over. Two officers step out. One male, one female. The female officer comes to Miss Muller's window. "Where are you going? Where do you live?" She says she's from Hammanskraal, that tonight is about cracking down on drunk driving. She goes back to her car, returns with a breathalyzer. Miss Muller blows. The result? 0. Sober. But the officer refuses to show her the reading. Instead, she tells Miss Muller she's under arrest for drunk driving. She has to come with them. The male officer will drive her car with Miss Bell inside. Miss Muller asks her friend to call her father to bring her phone. Suddenly, the female officer grabs her arm, pulls her toward the police vehicle. Miss Muller is scared, but she complies. She's driven off into the night by a stranger in uniform through red lights at reckless speeds. The officer tells her they aren't going to the local police station. It's full. They're headed to Sunnyside instead. Miss Muller tries to call her father. The officer tells her, "No one can help you except me." Then comes the bribe. "Do you know how much bail will be?" the officer asks. Miss Muller doesn't. 6,000 rand, the officer says. "But if you give it to me, you won't have to go to Sunnyside." Miss Muller refuses. The price drops, 3,500 rand, then 2,000 rand. The threat is clear: pay or go to Sunnyside. Miss Muller panics. She knows how dangerous Sunnyside is, especially for women. She's terrified. The officer pulls over. Miss Muller is told to go to the nearest ATM, withdraw 2,000 rand and come back, or her friend, Miss Bell, will be taken to Sunnyside instead. Miss Muller does as she's told. She returns, hands over the cash. She begs the officer to take her home. The officer agrees, but drives recklessly, running red lights. Miss Bell follows in Miss Muller's car, driven by the male officer. For 3 to 4 hours, these two women are held against their will. Threatened, extorted, terrified. When the sun finally rises, Miss Muller and Miss Bell are safe at home, but nothing feels safe anymore. They report what happened to the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. They take the case to court, seeking damages for unlawful arrest and detention. In the magistrate's court, the police, now the defendant, don't even present evidence. The only story is the one told by Miss Muller and Miss Bell. Their accounts are clear, detailed, and unwavering. They describe uniforms, police vehicles, threats, and the chilling fear that now follows them everywhere. But the magistrate's court dismisses their claim. Why? The court says the officers weren't acting as police. They were acting in their own selfish interests, not within the scope of their employment. The state, the court says, isn't responsible. Miss Muller and Miss Bell appeal. On appeal, Judges Millar, Ledwaba, and Flatella listen closely. They see the facts. The officers were in uniform, in a police vehicle, performing police duties. They used their authority to arrest, detain, and extort. The women complied because they believed rightly that these were real police officers. The judges find two key errors in the lower court's reasoning. First, just because the officers said they were from another precinct doesn't mean they weren't on duty. Second, it's wrong to blame the women for not going straight to a police station. They were terrified, and their actions made sense. The law is clear. If there's a close connection between an officer's actions and their police work, the state is responsible, even if the officer abuses that power. In this case, the connection is undeniable. The judges overturn the original decision. They order the state to pay Miss Muller 102,000 rand for arrest, detention, assault, and extortion. Miss Bell, who was detained but not assaulted or extorted, is awarded 70,000 rand. The state must also pay their legal costs. But money doesn't erase trauma. Miss Muller can't trust the police anymore. She gets panic attacks just seeing a traffic officer. Miss Bell, a single mother, is too afraid to drive at night. Neither woman will ever feel the same about those meant to protect them. So here's the question I can't stop thinking about. If you were Miss Muller or Miss Bell, alone, late at night, facing those blue lights, what would you have done? Would you have complied, fought back, paid the bribe, called for help? And if you were in charge of the system, what would you do to make sure this never happens again? Let's talk about it. Because justice isn't just about money. It's about trust, safety, and the right to go home at night without fear.